Hi, everybody. Let's see if I can get on here. Yeah. See if it's live. Okay, it's all coming in. So this is 1,718 days, and just waiting to see if it comes through because we are being shadow banned. There it is. It's all coming in. And looks okay. Wow, we're moving fast here. 1,718. I know that over almost 5 years, right? Almost 5 years. It seems very slow, but many people never get answers. And when you consider that Richard uh, in 2019, it started whistleblowing on the cartel tide invasion and infiltration and embedding in our government system and in our military there at the front door of the United States, right there in El Paso, Texas, on Fort Bliss, to whistleblow that kind of cartel tied criminal trafficking that is when it comes to narcotics, substances, when it comes to humans, when it comes to children, and of course, children are humans, but you're talking about 10,000 children at a time, hundreds of thousands of them that this led to that are now mostly not alive anymore. And when you're considering the weapons smuggling, and not only that, the ammunition. It's the ammunition, and it is also all of the supplies like those tactical electronic earmuffs or the tactical um, body armor or the vests, or even Humvees, or even just so many stolen um, taxpayer funded military equipment. And you saw that with the Afghanistan withdrawal, that General Milley was absolutely complicit in this trafficking because he felt like he couldn't bring any of that equipment home, not even the night vision goggles. Let's not even put the night vision goggles on the plane, right? Let's not even bring home our most valuable assets, our Marines, um, our sons and daughters, our volunteer sons and daughters. Uh, so all of the equipment, um, the vehicles, and um, even helicopters and all kinds of equipment, they were left behind, and not because they were left behind and not because we don't have, because I've been in those planes. Those planes are huge. You can play, but you can put a basketball court. You could put a couple basketball courts in that plane. The C5s, I've flown in them several times. Space A, Space A during Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Space A with the children, and you have to go up a ladder and then go up another ladder to get to the top area where you can sit. And the rest of it is all cargo. We have absolutely the means to bring home big equipment. There is no excuses at all. And yet, General Milley is treasonous. It was absolutely, for anyone that knows anything about our military and has been in our military, absolutely knows that what he did was absolutely treasonous. And that he absolutely lied through the media, the fake news media, about bringing all of our equipment and our most valuable assets home. Weapons, all these weapons, and then they're in the hands because what pocket did they line? What pocket did they line? Is the military like an eBay or something like that? Um, it's become very, very clear. And when you look into General John Kelly's participation in all of this, you're just shocked. You're just totally shocked because he's up to no good, and he's old. He's been getting away with this kind of stuff for a long time, for a long, long time, and his participation was so egregious. I don't know if it was worse than Mealy's, but it was egregious, y'all. And he, because they absolutely um, uh, participated in a mutiny against the commander in chief, against the American people. When President Trump was trying to secure our border and try to make our military strong, and really um, turning off their corrupt and criminal thievery in our military, they engaged in a mutiny. And when you see all the timelines and see all the evidence, it's very shocking, but it's very clear. The evidence is very clear that it was a mutiny, and this means that you have four-star generals, and I can name them: Mealy and Kelly and Garrett, General Garrett, and Lieutenant General Donna Martin, who's Provost Marshal. She was CID and now she's the IG of the Army. Absolute treasonous. And for this treason, they need to pay the price. They really do, because of um, the blood that's on their hands, the blood and the damage to our economy, to our country. It's on their hands, and because really they are sworn to defend the Constitution of the United States. That means the land and the people. The land and the people. That means to guard our borders. Um, the That is why what has happened in the last days, and Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, absolutely needs to be court-martialed for treason. And that's just one of the, I mean, there's so many things there are so many violations. These people are to the tip of their hair. If you stand their hair up from the tip of their feet to the tip of their hair, they are in muck, in absolute criminal muck, and treasonous criminal muck at that. And it is because of this, because of their cartel tied criminal muck and a cartel tied international criminal syndicate muck. It is so treasonous muck that Richard is not alive today. It really is. And Glennon Oakley Jr. and Asia Graham and so many, ten, 10,000 at a time, hundreds of thousands of children, and so many wars that did need to happen. We used to have generals that absolutely protected the lives of not only the people, their troops, their service members, and their families, but also even of their enemies. Believe it or not. And I know, Patton had all the sayings. You got to make them die for their country more than we die for our country. That's how you win a war, right? But they absolutely, when they eh, to sell out our country, um, to it's just you know the level of muck is so bad, and every day I thank God more and more And I'm very skeptical. Okay, I'm very, very skeptical. I don't know who to trust, right? But every day I thank God more and more for President Trump being in office and revealing, exposing um, this uh, civil war inside of um, our government agencies and all of that. They've just gone so big. The whole government needs to be trimmed down so much because they're just so big and they are just thieves. They're thieves and murderers, and they have no self respect. And no, if they have no self respect, then they have no respect for the country, no respect for their oaths. And it is just, and it's not me saying this, this is the evidence. The evidence confirms this, okay? The evidence confirms this. And what better example? You can't get a better example than Veronica Escobar, Representative Veronica Escobar, who, she's just a disgrace to the country. She's a disgrace to everything good. She's a disgrace to the Constitution. She's a disgrace to her constituents. And she is absolutely a top-notch criminal in a deep, deep muck. Top criminal in deep, deep muck. And the violations against her is not something, I'm not really such a grudge holder. I've never been a grudge holder. I'm just looking at the evidence. I'm looking at the evidence, and I know exactly what she's done to our family. But I'm looking at the evidence of looking past what she's done to our family, um, and looking what she has done to her entire constituency and to our country. Of course, she was co-chair for the failed $1 billion uh, Kamala Harris campaign. Um, and absolutely, when she was the county, and she's not a lawyer, but she was the county judge. That's just kind of like a name for that position. I learned that. She's not a lawyer to be a judge. She's just a county judge, a political station, a political position that brought in Mario Raskin Ortiz. And I know I really pound this hard because it is just absolutely atrocious to think that when people die by murder or any other way in in El Paso, that you have the dirty hands of Mario Rascon, who is absolutely compromised and absolutely not eligible for that position because he's illegally in this country. But even if he was legally in the country, he would not be eligible because you need to be an American citizen to have that position. And so it was Veronica Escobar that brought him over. And he has ties to, of course, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and Danae Katzen and Belen Rocha and even Veronica Escobar. Um, and all that cartel criminal gang. So she's bringing in a cartel tied individual and placing him in a very, very important position that's so important that right now you get paid over $430,000 for it, right? And I think it's even more now. That was just when I last looked. I'm sure there's been an increase. Um, it is a very important position, and she put that dirty guy right in that position to handle the remains of our people uh, in that district, right? All of those people, and that is military included, Fort Bliss, El Paso County, to handle and to determine, judge, because it is a judicial position. It's a medical and judicial position to judge to what is the cause and manner of death. And that dirty, I I know I just hammer it because you know people want to know how their loved one passed away, or anybody passed away, or in a crime passed away, and they want justice in a criminal case. Well, if he's tampering with death certificates and the cause and manner of death, which we have proof that he did. Um, Evidence shows that. That's I don't call. I have no vendetta against him. He is dirty. He is dirty. He is illegal. He and he tampers with cases like the Walmart mass shooting case. He handled all. He was in charge of handling all of those individuals' remains of the victims. And, if I was a family member, I would be absolutely outraged. And Veronica Escobar hides this fact, hides that she brought him in, hides that she even approved the payment of his salary with taxpayers' money, even though all of these violations. And she has allowed this to go on for a long time. I think it was like 2012 when she brought him in or something like that. Um, and so for a long, long time, and she allowed him to handle the remains of very big cases like the Walmart mass shooting victims. And so I hammer that. I think that is absolutely, uh, you know, uh, absolutely so egregious that she should be harshly and severely punished for doing that, for participating in that, for facilitating that, she facilitated that. And so, of course, in our son's case, a well, a hero, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier who was reporting on the cartel tied criminal trafficking in El Paso on Fort Bliss in her district with her constituents, hundreds of thousands of children, 10,000 at a time, being trafficked, and so many people getting hurt, so many people getting hurt from the substance abuse, so many people getting hurt by the trafficking, so many people and taxpayers being disenfranchised with the gun smuggling and everything like that going on Fort Bliss, the absolute theft. Um, the you know, uh, for her not to have a hearing. She's in the media right now talking about transparency, yet she doesn't talk about her role in the chief medical examiner, and yet she is not transparent when it comes to Richard Halliday's case. She should absolutely, and we've asked her to do it, to have a congressional hearing, and she absolutely denied us a congressional hearing into this case about just the absolute crime going on in her cartel tied crime going on in her district with uh, with the embedding of cartel tied individuals in the DA's office, in the federal courthouse, in the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, um, i- you know, in the FBI, um, on Fort Bliss, um, in the contracts, in the LLCs, the cartel tied LLCs, exploiting the county, her district. Um, sh- you know, wow, what does it take for people to demand that she be held accountable for this kind of criminal activity? Really. Um, and then, of course, her being silent about Judge Guadarrama's federal courthouse manager, Michael Mayella, and all the conflicts of interest that surround the federal courthouse. And she's silent about this. And Judge Guadarrama was the judge over the Patrick Crucius um, farce, absolute farce that cost so much taxpayers' money, while his manager, his right-hand man, his daughter is married to Patrick Crucius's brother, that his right-hand man, Michael Maiella's son, is in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza, who handpicked Joe Spencer to be Patrick Crucius's open checkbook attorney. Um, you know, and that Michael Maiella Jr. was also in the FBI, was also with the Walmart security. Well, the very so you have the brother-in-law of Patrick Crucius in the very agencies that are supposed to be investigating the Walmart mass shooting. And then you have Lorraine Mayella, the mother, um, you know, treating, treating and getting paid to treat the victims, right? The victims, um, and their families, right? And their families. What, and Veronica Escobar keeps this all quiet while getting on her little soapbox and saying there's not transparency with President Trump. Uh, you know, uh, I think she has a big log in her eye, a big log in her eye. And I don't know if you know the Bible story about, someone saying, "Oh, we got to take the little splinter out of your eye," when they have a big log in their own eye. She is so criminal. And look, there is uh, nothing else that you can deduct from the evidence but that she is just egregiously guilty of many, many crimes and needs to be hauled into court and charged, charged, and then tried. And I think that you will absolutely see that the evidence proves that she has engaged in just absolute egregious crimes and needs to be held accountable. And needs to be held accountable to the fullest extent, the fullest, the severest extent. Okay. Um, and the other point is that she kept very quiet. Not look, you have a total broken criminal justice system in El Paso, and she's very quiet about it. And there's one little solution. There's a little solution here that she could do very, very quick, and that is to call up Yvonne Rosales and say, "Hey, Yvonne Rosales, we don't have a legitimate DA except for you. You are the Texas constitutional holdover district attorney until we get a new district attorney. And let's come out, put on your high heels on, put on your suit on, come into the DA's office and let's have a prosecutor because my constituents deserve a prosecutor. They pay for a prosecutor. They need to have a prosecutor. Otherwise, we have a dereliction in honest services. We have a deprivation in honest services. So this is what she could do. Yet she's not transparent. She's not saying that. She's not doing that. We're the ones that have been doing that. Of course, we're not representatives in the U.S. Congress, but we have absolutely notified Yvonne Rosales, told her that we support her coming out as the um, duly elected holdover district attorney. The problem is that the cartel is so embedded with their agents into the system. Um, you know, it is not, you can't hold it against Yvonne Rosales for, uh, being afraid when so many people are being killed, like our son Richard Halliday, like so many being killed for for wanting to do the right thing, being retaliated for doing the right thing. And Veronica Escobar is facilitating that. You see, she's facilitating the uh, the 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 retaliation and allowing these criminal agents connected to the cartel to commit these crimes in her district. So it's really, really bad. So she knows about the Mayella, the federal courthouse. She knows about the DA's office. She knows that James 2028 stamp Montoya is has not been installed properly, that he did not sign his anti-bribe statement before and turn it in before he took his oath of office, that he has no legitimate position as a district attorney, that also that and then they engaged in tampering, and I'm thinking about Bill Hicks too, the usurper, that one's a Republican, one's a Democrat, they're both usurpers. Woohoo! They've united in something. They have a commonality. They're both not legally eligible to be the district attorney, and that can botch every case. You have to remember. You can say, "Oh, so what? So what?" No, this is a legal situation that handles legal cases. They are the prosecutors, and any case that they touch, the defense can say, this is not a legal prosecutor. You just botched the case. And then the whole case, and this is most of the time taxpayers' money. It is such a fraud on the courts. It's such a fraud on Veronica Escobar's constituents. And so you have to understand that this is a very, very big deal, that they did not sign their anti bribe statement before the oath of office, that they did not install properly, that they fraudulently collected paychecks on being a DA when they were not a DA, that they were absolutely putting all of these cases at risk, putting the whole criminal justice system at risk, and that, that Veronica Escobar hid this. This is not transparent of her, and she has oversight. This is what she's supposed to do, and she doesn't do it. And so she should hand back all of her paychecks, because she has been fraudulently collecting on services that she has not given us. She has absolutely not given us. And there's so much more. I just listed it all out. All of her violations that are so egregious, just like Penny Hamilton, who is not legal. She was never legal as a judge. She is an imposter. She's an impersonator. And she's the one that appointed um, Joe Spencer and Mark Stevens to the Walmart case. She's the one that put the warrant arrest out for Patrick Crucius. No, approved approved this application um, for appointed counsel with no, just to give, with one goal, to give an open checkbook to Joe Spencer, to give him an open cookie jar for him to steal with impunity from the American people. That's what that So this El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, that from 2015, and I know it takes a little bit to totally understand and wrap your heads around, and it is an inconvenience, but you got to do it. You got to do it. It has to be done. It's one of those inconveniences that you just have to do anyway. And that is to understand what's going on at the criminal law magistrate court, because it involves everybody that's there in El Paso, and really it has international and uh, national importance, because of the immigration, migrant, trafficking implications of all of this, because this is where the cases get handled. This is where the cases get handled, and you have a court that is absolutely legitimate court, but is operating illegitimately because it has deprived the American people there in El Paso County of elections. Of elections. This is election tampering. This is election denial. Because those judges that sit in that very powerful court, since 2015, it was given full countywide jurisdiction. The Texas Constitution says if a court has full countywide jurisdiction, the judges that sit on that court must be elected by the people of that county. The judges on that court must be elected by the people of that county. They have to have oversight of the very people they serve. And this is very, very important, and it's a beautiful thing in our government, because we are a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and we get to elect those that have really a lot of power. Like Veronica Escobar, she has a lot of power, and she is really engaging in a deprivation of honest services. She needs to give back her paychecks, and what's happened in the criminal law magistrate court is also a deprivation and a disfranchisement of the right to elect um, uh, those that have that kind of power. And those judges, none of them are elected. They've all been appointed, and they've all been imposters ever since, impersonators, imposters, and anybody that is doing anything they say they order, as far as a court case goes, is aiding and abetting an imposter, aiding and abetting a botched case, an imposter, and that's why this is so important. And what's going on? Veronica Escobar is not transparent about that, is she? She's not transparent about anything. You know, mirror, mirror on the wall. She wants to do is look at how she can get over on her constituents and do them a lot of harm. A lot of harm. So who's really behind the mirror, right? Who's really behind the mirror? It's a hunt. It's a hunt. Um, and so, everything, the whole fake news, um, uh, cartel tied fake news that's there, are also implicated, and the Epic is also implicated. Epic is the El Paso intelligence community. They were, absolutely behind this whole Fit Fam El Paso thing. And, so it all, they really had embedded themselves into our system, getting paid by the American people. And Veronica Escobar is totally silent about that. She's not transparent about that, that it's the American people that are absolutely paying for this criminal activity, right? That's done to them. So I think that the American people need to have restitution, right? We need restitution. They need to pay back what they took um, dishonestly and criminally, and they need to pay it back fourfold, fourfold, um, and that should help. That should help the people of El Paso. They need to get paid back that money. Absolutely. That's my uh, assessment of the law, because the law requires restitution. There's no forgiveness without restitution, right? And here we are at Palm Sunday, right? It's coming Palm Sunday, where people had to be explained on Palm Sunday that there's no forgiveness without restitution. And that was the lesson before Easter, that they might not understand that you could not just get forgiven without accountability, without paying the restitution, be it um, a fine, be it work, be it the death penalty, right? There has to be restitution. And that's why there's Easter. Easter is our restitution. It's our it's our freedom, and it's the greatest restitution ever paid, right? It's the greatest restitution ever paid, and it's an example of how a godly judicial system should operate, not like what Veronica Escobar has been operating there, with allowing the cartel tied criminal network embed themselves and abuse her constituents. No, that's not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to work with holding criminals accountable. And so that means you have to have hearings. That means you have to have sentencing. And not like what happened to Patrick Crusius, and a setup job with Judge Guadarrama and Michael Mayella Jr. and Blake Crusius. I mean, what a family betrayal, right? What a family betrayal. It's just disgusting. It is so disgusting. They need to be held to the highest uh, account for what they've done. And they're absolutely with the timeline. Um, let's look at the timeline a little bit for Joe Spencer, um, because at 5:42 a.m. on August 4th, okay, so just hours after the massacre on August 3rd in the Walmart, um, an approval for appointed counsel for Patrick Crusius is put into play. And Joe Spencer says in an audio recording that we have, that we're in possession of, he confesses that he went and met with Patrick Crusius 2 days after the shooting. So that means that he was appointed right after, uh, as as the appointed counsel for Patrick Crusius. He was appointed on the 4th. That's what that means. Because you have to have an overview of the case, and then you go and see your client. You can go and Google it. You can go and look at all these different steps. But that means that he was appointed on the 4th. And we were told that it was later, right? In the news, it was later. It was after Mark Stevens, that, Mark Stevens came out on the 8th saying that, he had requested Joe Spencer. But Joe Spencer himself, in an audio, says he saw Patrick Crusius 2 days after the shooting to announce that he was his lawyer, and did he have a problem with it, and that he had no clue what was going on. 2 days after, okay, and very compliant. And there's no talk of Trump anywhere. There's no talk of Trump. These audios, it's very clear that his rhetoric today, his false rhetoric today that's going through the media, is an attempt to just deflect attention away from his criminal activity. So, what am I saying? And this is what he said, okay? So, what did Joe Spencer say? Joe Spencer said that he was on the case 2 days after, and that he went in to go see him. That means you can deduct from that he came on the day after, the 4th of August, right? The 4th of August, when all the open checkbook was approved fraudulently fraudulently, right, without any kind of research, without any kind of saying that Patrick Crucius had 0000. That's all fraud. It's all fraud. And so we have another audio that says that he told Judge Madrano and Judge Guadarrama that he only would take this case if if he had an open checkbook. He wasn't going to do it for nickels and dimes. He wasn't going to do it for nickels and dimes. He needed an open checkbook. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the application for appointed counsel was the method they used to get the open checkbook. That means that he was telling Judge Madrano and Judge Guadarrama before the Walmart massacre ever happened that he would take the case only if he had an open checkbook. So, what does this mean? They colluded, they conspired, they were organizing this Walmart mass shooting to happen. That's what it tells me. Now, you can correct me, but that's what it tells me. And is there additional corroborating evidence? Well, we have Michael Mayella. We have Michael Mayella Jr. We have Lorraine Mayella. We have the DAs. We have the uh, Penny Hamilton. We have, just look at the whole situation. We have the military. We have number one, Richard Halliday. Richard Halliday. And I would say um, we have President Trump's situation, right? We have President Trump because they brought down, they brought in Ernest Christopher Grant and um, I was going to say another name, but I'll hold off. But they brought in Chris Cuomo and they brought in the CBP agent, right? Um, what was her name? Uh, Donna Swafford, or no, is it? Whatever, Donna. Um, and and they absolutely, and that you have in the military, uh, beyond Walmart, right? Beyond Walmart, absolute um, a mutiny going on against President Trump. And so, there is absolutely corroborating evidence that this was a conspiracy, a colluding. Um, wow. And they absolutely have family ties um, for that whole area in the DA's office, in the FBI, in the Walmart, in the federal courthouse. A friendly Penny Hamilton who went over to write to Bill Hicks. And when you look at all their little names and everything, it all connects. The evidence absolutely shows that this was an operation, that this was an operation and the target was President Trump, of course, and also to stop him as the chief law enforcement magistrate and the commander in chief. Because when you're president of the United States, you are the chief magistrate, you are the law enforcer, the chief law enforcer, and the commander in chief, right? That's who you are as president. It's a very powerful position. And they were absolutely auditing, absolutely investigating. And that's why you had the crying out of the witch. Sorry, she's just so bad. That's a little personal thing right there. But she's a witch. The witch, Veronica Escobar, putting out her little crying false narratives against President Trump and trying to push forth the failed candidate Beto O'Rourke, who absolutely has ties with all of these criminals too. So It is really, for us to be able to expose all of that and to come on all the time and please share, share, share because, this is uh, um, such huge news. Um, please share all this because they wanted to keep this quiet. They wanted to bury all of this. They wanted to bury it while um, absolutely keeping it going to rob from from us in every which way, even rob uh, some lives and lots of lives. Right? You got children, 10,000 at a time, hundreds of thousands of them and generals that their business is to get contracts to make this happen, to make this trafficking happen. And don't forget that General Kelly absolutely tied to Chihuahua, to Chihuahua governor. Absolutely long history, 2014, even you can go probably further back than that totally Southcom, Southern Command, right? With Chihuahua and El Paso and everything. Uh, so dirty, such a treasonous individual, really treasonous individual. And that's why when Trump came on and destroyed their thievery, um, and their destruction of the country, really they started gnashing their teeth, and complaining about him with false allegations. And history has it. We can look just the last months ago, and so really, it's all very clear that they weaponize the system because they have their criminals embedded in the system as in suits, right? As judges, as DAs, as um, as federal court managers, as um, trained cyber technicians and hackers, right? They have their people in place. And so we really need all of you to share, 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 and to hold these people accountable. And so we can get restitution. We need restitution. They need to be held accountable and they need to pay restitution for what they stole. They just stole so much. And the accountability is they need to be punished for what they did. So, thank you so much. And, Veronica Escobar, how brazen can you get? How, gosh, she's so, uh, she must live in her own little world. I don't know. But to call out for transparency when she is just Miss Cover Up Queen, right? Miss Cover Up, she's not even a queen, Miss Cover Up Witch. Um, demon, because I don't even know if she's a witch. She's like more like a demon. Um, sorry, that's a little personal. It's hard. I try not to get personal. Um, and I don't really have a vendetta. I want accountability and I want restitution, for us, for all that was stolen and taken and, yeah, and deprived us, my grandchildren. Richard could be married right now. He could give me another grandchild. Um, you know, all the deprivation that they cause by their evil doings. So, thank you so much. Depriving the military from a distinguished honor graduate, a hero, someone very, very courageous and brave, and being murdered right there on American soil, on American base, Fort Bliss. It's disgusting. It really is. And she needs to be held accountable. Thank you so much. God bless you. Oh, let me read the last. Um, Thank you for coming on, Anicia, praying for justice. Thank you so much for your prayers and your love. Danielle, thank you for your prayers. Veronica Escobar said years ago she would have a third party investigation. That has not yet happened. Why doesn't she want a congressional hearing related to Richard Halliday's murder? Because she's so cartel tied to this criminal trafficking, y'all. She's and theft. And it is just because they used our brick and mortar on Fort Bliss, our land, the tents, the taxpayers had to pay those contracts. They used the brick and mortar of the DA's office, all the air conditioning, all the free, all the stuff, all the bennies they got. They used the brick and mortar of the federal courthouse. They used the brick and mortar of the county courthouse. They used the brick and mortar and all of the tax money for all of the services that we voted into to provide for the constituents, for the people, and they embedded, they usurped it, and have absolutely um, conducted their criminal activity, and yeah, so they need to absolutely pay for what they've done. This is treason. So thank you so much. God bless you, and thank you for your comments. And I